The silent strike the morning sun of Kepler 4, for to be cast long shadows across New Haven's crystal spires. Dr. Sarah Kim stood on her apartment balcony, watching her daughter Maya chase butterfly-like creatures through the floating gardens. 3.5 million humans called this world home, building something beautiful under an alien sky. The colonists had spent 40 years transforming this planet into humanity's crown jewel, complete with schools, hospitals, and research. Centers that rivaled anything on Earth. Sarah's wrist communicator buzzed softly. Another successful harvest report from the agricultural domes. New Haven was thriving beyond all projections. Children born here had never breathed Earth's air, never seen Sour's light, yet they carried humanity's dreams in their hearts. The colony represented everything good about human expansion into the stars, peaceful, collaborative, innovative. "Mum, look," Maya called out, pointing at a formation of ships descending through the atmosphere. "Are those the supply vessels?" From Earth, Sarah shielded her eyes against the sun. Something felt wrong. The ships were too angular, too aggressive in their design. Her blood chilled as she recognized the distinctive energy signatures from the colonial defense briefings. Vorthok warships. The first plasma lance struck the city center with the force of a small star. The administrative complex, where thousands of colonists worked, vaporized in a flash of superheated gas. The shockwave shattered every window in a 20-kilometer radius. Sarah grabbed Maya, pulling her inside as the sky turned the color of burning copper. Supreme War Commander Vekfa watched the destruction from his flagship's bridge with satisfaction. The humans had built their cities tall and beautiful, making them perfect targets. His tactical officer reported methodically as lance after lance of plasma fire rained down on the colony. Civilian shelters destroyed, power grid eliminated, spaceport vaporized. Estimated casualties approaching 2 million and climbing. The Vorthok Empire had been watching humanity's expansion for decades. These soft creatures spread across the galaxy like a plague, establishing colonies wherever they found habitable. Worlds. They spoke of peace, of cooperation, of building a better future among the stars. Such weakness disgusted the galaxy belonged to the strong, and it was time to remind these humans of that fundamental truth. "Any military resistance?" Dekevar asked, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. "Minimal, Supreme Commander." "A few patrol craft, easily destroyed. Their weapons are primitive projectile systems. No match for our energy shields." Within 6 hours, New Haven was gone. Every building reduced to slag. Every human life snuffed out like candle flames in a hurricane. Sarah Kim's final transmission to Earth was a desperate plea. They came without warning. They're killing everyone. Children, families, everyone. Please remember us. Please remember what they did. The Vorthok fleet moved on to their next target. Titan Base, humanity's largest military installation outside Earth, fell in 4 hours. The defenders fought bravely, but their weapons couldn't penetrate Vorthok's shielding. Admiral Jackson's final order was to broadcast the tactical data back to Earth before the station exploded in a ball of nuclear fire. Asteroid mining station Omega-7 lasted 37 minutes. The miners had families aboard, people who had spent their lives in the dangerous work of extracting resources for humanity's expansion. Commander Walsh tried to evacuate the civilian sections, but Vorthok fighters hunted down every escape pod. With methodical precision, Gleesix 67C Research Outpost managed 1 hour of resistance. Dr. Martinez's xenobiology team had been on the verge of breakthrough discoveries about alien ecosystems. Their research died with them when the Vorthok cracked the planet's crust with tectonic disruptors, triggering global earthquakes in 12 hours. The Vorthok had murdered 7 million humans across 4 different star systems. Their war doctrine was simple: eliminate the weak before they could multiply further. The galaxy had room for only one dominant species, and it would not be these fragile, dreaming humans. What the Vorthok didn't know was that Earth had been listening to everything deep beneath the Swiss Alps, in a bunker that officially didn't exist. President Chen Mailin stood before a council table that hadn't been used in over a century. 12 chairs, 12 keys, 12 guardians of humanity's darkest secret. The room hummed with the power of fusion reactors buried kilometers below bedrock. "They've crossed the line," Chen said, her voice echoing in the chamber. 7 million civilians dead. They targeted families, children, researchers. This wasn't military action, this was genocide. General Harrison, the oldest person in the room at 147 years, thanks to life extension technology, spoke first. "Madame President, we've maintained Protocol Lazarus for over 2 centuries. Are we certain this is the moment?" Dr. Elizabeth Warren, Director of Advanced Weapons Research, pulled up holographic displays showing the colony attacks. The Vorthok demonstrated weapons far beyond anything we've publicly acknowledged. Plasma lances, energy shields, tectonic disruptors. Our standard military couldn't touch them, which is exactly why our ancestors built what's waiting in the vaults, said Admiral Carlos Torres, Fleet Command. His family had been guardians of the protocol for 7 generations. My great-great-grandmother helped design the contingency systems. She knew this day would come. Chen looked around the table. Each person represented a different aspect of humanity's hidden preparations. Scientists, military leaders, engineers, strategists, saw bound by oaths of secrecy that transcended government changes and political upheavals. The colonists believed we could explore the galaxy in peace. They trusted us to protect them. "And we will," Torres said grimly. "Just not the way they expected." One by one, the keys turned. Ancient mechanisms engaged, sending signals to facilities hidden across Earth and throughout the solar system. In the deepest ocean trenches, things that had been sleeping for centuries began to wake. On the moon's dark side, craters that astronomers thought were natural formations started to iris open like mechanical flowers. President Chun's voice carried across every hidden facility simultaneously. "Protocol Lazarus is now active. Earth's children have been murdered. Show them what humanity builds in the dark." The Pacific Ring of Fire erupted with artificial lightning as massive shapes began rising from trenches deeper than Mount Everest was tall. These weren't ships in any conventional sense, they were humanity's nightmares given form. Vessels designed by generations who knew the galaxy might not welcome peaceful expansion. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the newly surfaced dreadnought Prometheus, watching his instruments come online for the first time in 200 years. Around him, his crew, descendants of the original builders, took their stations with grim efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, hoping it would never come. Asterisk. "All systems operational, Admiral," reported his tactical officer. "Quantum drive spooled and ready. Reality anchor deployed. Consciousness shielding at maximum." Torres nodded. The ship's weapons were theoretically impossible, violating several laws of physics that humanity had publicly claimed couldn't be broken. Reality distortion cannons that could rewrite local space-time. Quantum viruses that attacked not just computer systems, but the quantum foundations of matter itself. psychic resonance weapons that could drive entire crews insane across interstellar distances. Signal from Lunar Command, his communications officer announced. The weapon platforms are armed and ready. Stellar manipulation arrays are charging. Torres allowed himself a cold smile. Humanity had turned their entire solar system into a weapon. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space debris had been secretly equipped with technologies that made the Vorthok's plasma lancers look like children's toys. Send a message to the Vorthok fleet, Torres ordered. Tell them Earth remembers its dead children. Tell them we're coming. The first phase of humanity's response launched within hours of the protocol activation. Not just one ship, but hundreds, emerging from hidden facilities across the solar system. Each vessel represented decades of secret research technologies, developed in underground laboratories by scientists who had sworn to never speak of their work. As the hidden fleet formed up in Earth orbit, sensors detected the Vorthok invasion force, already heading toward the Sol system. Vekva had decided to eliminate humanity's homeworld before they could organize effective resistance. The Vorthok Supreme Commander expected to find a peaceful planet protected by primitive orbital defense platforms. Instead, he was about to discover what humanity built when they stopped believing in the goodness of the universe. Asterisk. The Reckoning, Unleash Supreme War, Commander Vesh's confidence began to waver as his fleet approached the Sol system. His long-range sensors were detecting impossible readings, energy signatures that shouldn't exist according to known physics. Massive structures that his databases couldn't identify, and weapon emissions that made no sense. Report, he demanded. From his sensor officer. Sir, I'm reading. This can't be correct. The entire system appears to be fortified. Not just Earth, but every planetary body, every asteroid belt, even the space between planets, shows artificial constructs. Vekva studied the tactical display with growing unease. The humans' outer colonies had shown no advanced military technology. Their weapons were kinetic projectiles. Their ships used chemical propulsion. Their shields were simple electromagnetic barriers. Yet his sensors were detecting energy outputs that rivaled small stars. Perhaps their sensors are malfunctioning, suggested his tactical advisor. Primitive species often have defective equipment that creates false readings. But as the Vorthok fleet crossed the heliopause into Sol's gravity well, the first impossibility revealed itself. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter wasn't behaving like a natural formation. Thousands of rocks suddenly changed trajectory, moving with precise coordination to form geometric patterns that spelled out messages in multiple languages. One phrase repeated across the formation. You killed our children. Admiral Torres watched the Vorthok fleets approach from Prometheus's bridge. Around him, displays showed the readiness status of humanity's hidden arsenal. 2 centuries of secret preparation were about to be unleashed in a matter of hours. Sir, the Vorthok are broadcasting on all frequencies, his communications officer reported. They're demanding our immediate surrender and threatening orbital bombardment. Any response from the surface? Torres asked. Negative, sir. All civilian communication systems are maintaining standard operation. No one down there knows we exist. That was by design. Earth's population of 12 billion humans went about their daily lives completely unaware that their planet was the most heavily armed fortress in the galaxy. The hidden military infrastructure existed in parallel to civilian society, maintained by families who had kept the secret for generations. Target the lead Vorthok vessel, Torres ordered. Fire a single shot from the reality distortion cannon. Let's see how their shields handle rewritten physics. The weapon that fired defied every natural law. Instead of projectiles or energy beams, it launched patches of altered space-time where the rules of existence had been fundamentally changed. In the targeted area, matter forgot how to maintain molecular bonds. Energy lost the ability to transfer between particles, and causality became optional. Vecva's flagship simply stopped existing in any meaningful sense. Not destroyed, not vaporized, it became a region of space where the concept of warship was no longer valid. His crew's final transmissions were increasingly confused as their own thoughts became impossible to maintain in rewritten reality. What happened to the flagship? Demanded the remaining Vorthok commanders on the communication channel. It's still there, but also not there, reported a sensor officer whose voice was climbing toward hysteria. My instruments show it. Exists, but when I look at it, there's nothing but empty space that feels wrong to perceive. Admiral Torres allowed the Vorthok fleet a few moments to process what they had witnessed. Then he opened a channel to address them directly. I am Admiral Carlos Torres of the Terran Defense Force. You have murdered 7 million human civilians. You targeted families, children, researchers who had never fired a shot in anger. You came to our worlds, speaking of strength and dominance. His image appeared on every Vorthok screen, an elderly human with eyes like winter storms, standing on a bridge that radiated technological sophistication beyond their understanding. You made a fundamental error in judgment. You assumed that because humanity spoke of peace, we were incapable of war. You confused mercy with weakness, cooperation with helplessness. Allow me to correct that misunderstanding. The lunar weapon. Platforms activated simultaneously. The moon's surface erupted with launching systems that had been disguised as natural craters for centuries. But these weren't conventional missiles or energy weapons. They were technological horrors that humanity's greatest minds had designed in absolute secrecy. Consciousness, viruses spread through the Vorthok fleet's communication systems, not attacking their computers, but their ability to think coherently. Quantum entanglement bombs created weapon effects that occurred simultaneously across multiple star systems, making defense impossible. Temporal displacement fields trapped entire squadrons in time loops where they experienced their destruction over and over again. Captain Zextar commanded one of the remaining Vorthok cruisers, watching in terror as his fleet died to weapons that shouldn't exist. His tactical officer was weeping not from fear, but because the consciousness virus had made him remember every civilian he had ever killed with perfect, agonizing clarity. Supreme Command, we need immediate reinforcement, Zextar transmitted. Desperately, the humans have been hiding technology that makes our weapons look like crude tools. They're not the species we thought they were. But reinforcement wasn't coming. Earth's hidden fleet hadn't remained in the Sol system to fight defensively, while the weapon platforms dealt with the immediate invasion. Admiral Torres had launched every ship capable of interstellar travel toward known Vorthok positions throughout the galaxy. The dreadnought Nemesis materialized directly in Vorthok home system using quantum tunneling drives that bypassed the need for traditional faster-than-light travel. Captain Jennifer Walsh, whose family had died at asteroid mining station Omega 7, stood on the bridge with eyes like burning stars. Target their military infrastructure, she ordered. Make sure they understand what they've awakened. The Vorthok homeworld's orbital defense platforms were impressive by galactic standards: plasma cannons capable of cracking asteroids, energy shields that could deflect nuclear weapons, point defense systems that could track thousands of incoming missiles simultaneously. None of it mattered. Nemesis deployed weapons that attacked the fundamental forces holding matter together. The orbital platforms didn't explode, they simply forgot how to exist as solid objects, dissolving into component atoms that drifted away like cosmic dust. On the planet's surface, Vorthok citizens looked up to see their invincible military crumbling in minutes. Emergency broadcasts tried to explain what was happening, but there were no words in their language for weapons that violated reality itself. Admiral Torres appeared on every screen across Vorthok space, his message translating automatically into their language through quantum linguistic matrices that analyzed brain patterns rather than vocabulary. Your leaders believed that strength comes from destroying the weak. They murdered millions of humans who had never threatened your empire. They targeted children and families because they thought we couldn't retaliate. Behind him, Earth filled. The screen nots the peaceful blue marble that most galactic species knew, but a planet surrounded by weapon platforms that could be seen from interstellar distances. Orbital rings bristling with technologies that bent the laws of physics. You have learned differently. Humanity has spent 300 years preparing for species like yours. We hoped we would never need these weapons. We built them anyway, because hope is not a strategy when dealing with genocidal empires. The remaining Vorthok fleet tried to retreat, but found their hyperspace lanes blocked by devices that turned jump drives into miniature black holes. They attempted to surrender, but discovered that humanity's hidden fleet had no communication systems, only weapons. Within 72 hours, the Vorthok Empire ceased to exist as a military power. Not just defeated, but completely erased from strategic relevance. Their homeworld remained intact, but every weapon, every warship, every military installation had been methodically destroyed by technologies they couldn't comprehend or counter. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity emerged from apparent helplessness to demonstrate technological superiority that redefined what was possible. Species that had considered humans weak expansionists suddenly realized they had been observing carefully constructed deception. Admiral Torres sent one final message to every inhabited system in known space. His image appeared simultaneously on billions of screens across hundreds of worlds, translated into thousands of languages. Humanity ventures into the galaxy seeking knowledge, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence. We build schools, hospitals, and research centers on the worlds we settle. Our children grow up dreaming of friendship between species, of shared discoveries that benefit all sentient life. His expression hardened, and behind him, images showed the destroyed colonies, the murdered families, the children who would never see another sunrise. But we also remember that the universe is not always kind to dreamers. We remember species like the Vorthok, who mistake mercy for weakness, who interpret peaceful intentions as invitation for conquest. For them, we have built different dreams, the screen filled with images of Earth's hidden arsenal weapons that violated natural law, ships that existed partially outside normal space-time, technologies that treated physics as suggestions rather than absolute rules. We are still the same humans who seek peace among the stars. We still want to build a galaxy where all species can thrive. But we are also the humans who have spent centuries preparing for those who would mistake our kindness for helplessness. Torres paused, letting his words sink in across countless worlds. Choose wisely which version of humanity you wish to meet. The message ended with coordinates not to Earth, but to the remnants of the Vorthok fleet, drifting powerless in space, as living testimony to the cost of underestimating human ingenuity. Within days, diplomatic communications poured in from across the galaxy. Species that had ignored human expansion suddenly requested formal treaties. Empires that had been planning their own conquests quietly shelved those ambitions. The galactic balance of power had shifted overnight, not through politics or economics, but through the revelation that humanity's peaceful expansion had been protected by weapons that redefined what was militarily possible. President Chen stood in her office, looking out at Earth's cities where billions of humans continued their daily lives, still unaware of the secret war that had been fought in their name. The hidden fleet had returned to their concealed bases. The weapon platforms had powered down to standby status, and the technologies that had eliminated the Vorthok threat were once again sleeping in the depths of oceans and the darkness of space. But the galaxy now knew the truth. Humanity's children could dream of peace because their parents had prepared for war. The species that ventured forth, seeking friendship and cooperation, did so under the protection of weapons that made traditional military power obsolete. The Vorthok had learned, too late, that underestimating humanity's capacity for both creation and destruction was a fatal mistake. They had seen humans building beautiful cities and assumed weakness. They had witnessed peaceful expansion and interpreted it as defenselessness. They never imagined that the same species capable of such dreams was also capable of nightmares that could reshape reality itself. The galaxy was watching now, waiting to see which version of humanity they would encounter in the years to come. The choice, as Admiral Torres had said, was entirely up to them. Asterisk.